Hi, my name is Ivan, welcome to TNS, and in the next couple of videos I'm gonna do some vocal mixing. I won't show you any special tricks that will work in any situation. Vocals are, as is everything when you approach a mix, very contextual. The plugins I use also don't matter all that much, you can use whatever you have or prefer. I'll just explain my approach when it comes to EQ, compression, and adding effects like reverb, delay or even distortion when mixing vocals. So let's start with this vocal mixing tutorial and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next one. If you read the title of this video, you saw it said Insert Effects. And that's how I decided to organize these videos. I'm gonna talk about insert effects first, continue with send effects, and finish with parallel processing on other tracks. But before we do any of that, let me play with the first part of the song so you can get a feel for it. The mix is kinda where I want it to be, and the performance of the band is overall really good, and I think you'll enjoy this one. It's performed by Carlton Benjamin and it's called Sail Away. You can also download the multitracks, I'll leave the links down in the description box. Okay, let's start by taking everything off the vocals first. Let's hear the lead vocal track now, completely dry.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required the sailing of fortune, till the silence stopped life.
Okay, let's start adding things to this vocal chain here. The first plugin that you see here on the lead vocal track is the virtual tape machine. Let's engage that and hear the difference.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright.
So there's nothing much there, it's just giving it a bit of saturation, it's really subtle. The next thing in line here is the virtual mix track, and in there I have an instance of the FG76 preamp and the VCC channel that's set on a Neve style emulation. Let's hear it with and without this here.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required the sailing of fortune.
Again, this is also very subtle, but it's adding to saturation and overall warmth of the vocal. Now, after we added some spice to the vocal, we want to get rid of some of the things before we compress it and add some more excitement to it. I usually start off this process with the de-esser. Let's hear it with and without.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright.
So the de-esser is just controlling the S's a bit. It's really not working too hard, and I don't want it to work too hard, because it will sound really unnatural. Okay, before we hit one more VMR instance here, I'm gonna get rid of the low end and find some resonances in the lower mid-range. And I'm doing that with the Fab Filters Pro Q2. The high-pass filter here is set around 80 Hz, and I found some resonances around 500, so let's isolate these two regions here.
She never applied for pictures or portraits.
And the reason why I went with the high-pass filter here is because there are some low-end bumps there, and I don't want them to affect the compressors or the EQs or basically anything that comes after this. And let's hear this mid-range resonance I found.
She never applied for pictures or portraits.
To me that sounds very boxy and it's making the vocals sound thin, which I don't want really. And now the last plugin on this insert is another instance of the VMR, and most of the processing is, as you can see from this really long chain, done here. Let me take everything off in this chain and we'll start from left and work our way to the right. Like the VTM and the VCC saturation weren't enough, I decided to add a bit more with this VTC London plugin here. Let's hear the difference with and without it.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required the sailing of fortune till a silence.
The vocal instantly gets really exciting and really saturated, and that's the sound I really like here. The next plugin in this VMR chain is the Custom Series EQ, and I added some body around 100 Hz, got rid of some of the 400, removed just a touch of 7K, and added a bit of 10K up on top. Okay, let's hear the difference with and without this EQ here.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required the sailing of fortune.
This EQ suits this vocal really nice because it's giving it a really nice presence down there at the low end without it being too muddy. After that we have another EQ, and this is one of my personal favorites. We have another high-pass filter, again very subtle, around 40 Hz. I'm adding almost 5 dB around 100 again, and I'm adding around 2 dB in this upper mid-range. Let's hear the difference with and without this EQ.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required the sailing of fortune.
With this FGN EQ, and especially with this 5K 2 dB boost, we achieved a really nice present up there in the mid-range, upper mid-range. Now we come to the first compressor in line, which is the FG116. The attack of this compressor is fairly fast on all settings. And my goal with this FG116 compressor here is just to catch some stronger and faster peaks in the lead vocal track. And let's see the difference with and without this compressor.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required the sailing of fortune till a silence stopped life. So
there's really not too much compression going on here. We got one bigger spike around 5 dB of gain reduction, but to my ears this FG116 compressor is just evening out the vocal track a bit, and the vocal track sounds a bit more warmer also. The fifth plugin in this VMR chain is the Air EQ's Air module. And I'm using this plugin to give it exactly what the plugin says it's gonna do, some air up on top. Let's hear it first with and then without air.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required the sailing of fortune till a silence stopped life.
That top end sounds really nice to me, it's really nice and sparkly. And we've come to the final plugin in this chain, which is another compressor, the FG Stress. And this compressor is doing a bit more than the FG116 and really leveling out the track. Let's hear it with and without the final compressor.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. I never required a sailing of fortune.
And you probably could have guessed it that if a plugin has some saturation, I'm gonna use it. And I'm using this distortion tree button here on the FG Stress, along with this resonant peaking kind of option, which suits this vocal nicely, especially when the vocalist sings in the upper range. And now finally, let's do an A-B. Let's hear the vocals completely dry and with all the effects we have on the inserts.
She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright. She never applied for pictures or portraits, though her past still shines bright.
I think that the good thing about this vocal chain, or at least what I did to it in this context, is that the vocal is still fairly dynamic despite all the processing. I have the VTM first, which is doing some compression and saturation. Here we have more saturation and two compressors, but the vocal still breathes a lot, and I like that sound. The processing for the back vocal tracks is a lot more simple, but let's hear the back vocal tracks dry now.
Sail, baby. Sail, baby. Sail, baby. Don't you sail away.
To me, they sound really good as they are now. So on all the individual tracks, I did nothing but insert an instance of the virtual mix rack that has a preamp and a VCC channel set on the Neve style console. Let's hear the vocals with that.
Sail, baby. Sail, baby. Sail, baby.
So the difference is really not big, just a bit of saturation. But now on the bass I did all the processing, all the compression and all the EQ, so let's see what's going on there. So I'm using only one EQ to process all of those back vocal tracks. There's a high pass filter at 110 Hz, I'm giving them just a touch of body around 200, I got rid of the sum of the 400 on the back vocal tracks as well, and I gave them a lot of top end with this 12K boost with 3.5 dB.
Sail, baby. Sail, baby. Sail, baby.
And after that I have an instance of the VCC mix bus, again set on the Neve style emulation, and it's driven a bit. And let's hear the difference with that now.
Sail, baby. Sail, baby.
The next and the final plugin in this back vocal bus is a compressor. I have the FG Red from the Slate's VBC. I've set a fairly fast attack and I'm trying to achieve a couple of dB of gain reduction here. Let's hear it with this compressor now.
Sail, baby. Sail, baby. Sail, baby. Don't you sail away.
Also, the goal of this compressor is kinda similar to what we have on the lead vocal track with the FG116. I want to catch those fast and strong peaks that the vocals are having. Okay, now let's hear the lead vocal track and the back vocal tracks playing together now with all the inserts active.
Skies on tissue prevail, streaming longing in vain. Sail, baby, won't you pass? pass them by. Sail, baby. No evils or gods will hide. Sail, baby. I've been looking there for your love, but you never came back. Never came back.
There you heard me disable all the effects halfway through, so we can really hear the effect of all the processing on all these vocal tracks. Okay, that's enough for now, I'm gonna stop here. We've covered all the insert effects. In the next video I'm gonna cover the send effects, meaning the delay slaps, the plates, a quarter note delay, some parallel processing on the back vocal tracks, and I'm gonna talk about this lead vocal shimmer track.
Skies on tissue prevail.
Anyway, that's it from me in this video. Again, I want to thank you all for joining me in this vocal mixing tutorial series. Thank you all for watching, and bye.